Good afternoon. So, as promised, I'm here and I am touching upon a subject which is not really talked of when people talk of yoga in general. I'm talking about the significance of breath or breathing. Yoga is perhaps, and I'm open to corrections, the only exercise which talks about details of breathing and control of it versus a physical or mental exercise at the same time. Often people relate to it in one form, and that has become very popular, that is Anulom Vilom. So I'll pick this up in as five questions. And my first question is, what is the significance of breath? The significance of breath is that it is the only medium by means of which body living draws any source which will enable utilization of food or nutrition that has been drawn by the living from its surroundings into a usable form, which we relate to as combustion or burning of food or drawing energy out of food, and this is enabled by oxygen in the air. My second question would be, why? The why of breathing is not only just because of oxygen, but why of breathing is more significant because it needs to be understood how much of a breathing, how the breathing has to be done or should be done or can be done, and how does it impact. So, breathing impacts is known. It is also known that it influences the basal metabolic rate of functions of the human body or any living body for that matter, and it is directly related to longevity of the individual. The person, how long can he live and how healthy can he live, not only the length of time, is dependent purely upon his breathing rate, which in association with other things becomes a part of the basal metabolic rate. The third would be where of breathing. Now, where of breathing is not about uh, at the place, but where of breathing is with reference to you about where does it impact and how does it impact. So, when we talk about yoga being a controlled thing, as a measure, it permits you to control the breathing rate, and where it impacts is the basal metabolic rate. It is believed and often known that when the breathing rate is high, the longevity is less, and the breathing rate is low, the longevity is high. And all the exercises that yoga goes through, whether it is physical, whether it is the mental exercises, in both forms, it talks about regulated breath, regulating the rate of breath, regulating the depth of breath, regulating the time through which it has to go, and it talks about an effortless release and intake of air. It does not talk about, actually, as people believe when they say that hold on to your breath when you take it. You don't really have to hold and block your breathing. You don't have to earn a stress on your body to see that your breath is at hold. If you do that, if you earn a stress by holding your breath, then unlikely and unfortunately, you will not be doing a control of your basal metabolism, rather, you will be increasing it. So, it is not going to be in favor of health, it is not going to be in favor of longevity. It is by far an effortless measure in which you have to. That is why, if you go back to school, early schooling in your physical education, in your moral sciences, mentions about deep breathing. So, yogic breathing or yogic exercises, all when you look at psychological ones, when you talk about dhyan, when you do the physical ones, which may be a part of Hatha Yoga or which may not be a part of Hatha Yoga, every single one refers to a deep breathing, deep intake of air, and an effort which is not in a manner pushing yourself. From why, what? So, before I pick the fourth one, the where of it is about defining how and where, in which way are you going to be breathing. Then it is about when. When again is not by the time of the clock. Your diurnal rhythm is variant. People have a variable lifestyle these days. Somebody wakes up at 4 and the other person wakes at 10. Somebody sleeps at 5 and somebody sleeps at 9, and somebody sleeps at way past midnight, say 3 in the AM. So your diurnal rhythms are not the same. Yes, that does impact your body, and that does have an entire impact on how you come across, how you perform as a healthy individual. But yoga and your control over your breath can help you sustain, can help you improvise your health, can help regulate your metabolic conditions, and hence keep you healthy. Therefore, so when we say about when of breath, the when of breath is to time yourself in a manner that whenever you can, whenever you have that control on yourself or the time on yourself, to give yourself those few seconds, few minutes for a controlled exercise of your breathing techniques, your breathing controls will help you achieve the best of metabolic rates. Even 5 minutes a day at odd hours can help you regulate your metabolic rates effectively, to the effect that you do not develop any major illnesses sooner. The worst complications of an abnormal diurnal rhythm, an abnormal body clock, are number of metabolic disorders that you develop or you can develop. But these 5 minute techniques or these 5 minute practices, not to say techniques exactly always, can help you overcome some of the encumbrances which will lead to these metabolic causes or metabolic conditions. The last is how. We may define a when, we may define a what, we may define a where, we may define a why, but ultimately it is the practice. And the practice says, how will you control your breathing rate? That is where this point, when I say that what will happen if you have, say, 50 breaths in 7 minutes versus something like 84 to 112 breaths in a minute, in 7 minutes. You will realize, if you start practicing breathing practices, breathing exercises, that when you're doing the normal breathing of 12 to 16 per minute, the breathing is generally shallow. It doesn't come with any effort at all. You don't even realize it. But you are not utilizing your lungs to the full capacity itself. The lung expansion is not fully happening. If the lung expansion is not fully happening, that means you are not providing optimum oxygen to your body, which it needs to perform all the functions. This is one of the primary causes of most stress that we have. Every healer, every practitioner of paramedical sciences, every practitioner of yoga, every psychiatrist, psychologist, everybody says, and very often does say, when you appear to be in stress or when you talk about stress, often the first sentence is, take a deep breath. What does a deep breath do? It is not that when you took a deep breath and it went across a few seconds more than normal, say to say it went to 7 8 seconds before you took the next breath. It was not just this time delay, but also you allowed the body to assimilate through the oxygen that it could draw from your lungs, and in exchange release the carbon dioxide and any other things that can be released by the respiratory mechanism. Those things have impacts on the body's ionic chemistry. They influence the metabolic activity, and together these functions become a part of your basal metabolic rate. You consciously cannot regulate your breathing always, that is a known fact. But as an exercise, dhyan is one of the best exercises, one of the best yogic techniques, which, when done effectively, which, when done properly, not only relaxes you mentally, not only helps you attain focus, but more than the two, it helps you regain your metabolic strength. It helps you burn a lot of unwanted, unnecessary waste that be in your body getting accumulated, and it helps you have a healthy mind in a healthy body. Therefore, it is not just important to understand you, not just important to understand breath, but its implications in why, what, where, when, and how of it. To know the best of breathing techniques, to know the best that we can do with breath, I, by personal experience, can say Patanjali Yoga Sutras are one of the best forms of dealing with it, and there's perhaps no better person than Dr. Robert to guide anyone on it. I personally have been guided by it, and I can say, I can vouch for it. How far does it help? I'm still realizing many of the things to come through because I am practicing them gradually. But yes, simple measure of breathing, simple control of breathing is something that helps you attain a lot of support to your own self, to your own metabolics, to your own body. Thank you.